welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a new concept video I decided to get into. Actually, one of you guys recommended this idea ages ago of like something I could try when I'd asked you guys for ideas of fragrance videos that weren't hauls to do this year, and you guys kind of put this idea in my head and I picked the perfumer in question. So if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, and let's get into it. I actually really was thinking about which perfumer to choose, because if you haven't noticed from the title, this is going to be kind of an overview of the perfumes or fragrances I own in my collection from the perfumer Fabrice Pellegrin. He's an incredible perfumer. I'm sure many of you have tried at least one of his creations. He's made fragrances for a multitude of houses. I could not possibly list them all, but you guys can check them out online, and I currently own 10 of his fragrance creations. I've tried more than that because I did go through his entire creation list, but I wanted to kind of limit it to the fragrances I actually own so I could speak about them, and I thought it'd be a really fun way to do mini reviews and more in-depth kind of overviews of fragrances that I've obviously tried for a while. You guys have asked me for more of my insights in between hauls and stuff, and you sent such kind messages about wanting my advice on scents. So I hope this is a fun way to, take a look at fragrances and understand them a little bit better through the lens of a particular fragrance perfumer. So we are going to get into all 10 fragrances. 9 of them are actually full bottles. There's one sample, but the sample is because I've not yet bought the full bottle, but I want to, and we'll get to it. You will see. And additionally, there are like the great majority of these scents I got on FragranceBuy, which is the case for pretty much the majority of my collection, or a great part of my collection, I should say. But I will go ahead and list all the fragrances in my top 10 that I can find already available on FragranceBuy as well in the description box below, along with all my favorites and so much more there for you. So definitely check it out. If you haven't seen my videos since I've come back from my vacation, I've really vamped up the description box, and so take a look, because I'm going through them right now, and I feel like 9 out of 10 you can find on there already. So definitely check out the description box. And without any further ado, let's get into it. So Fabrice Pellegrin, you can read about him if you'd like. There's a full biography, but basically he was the son of a perfumer himself. He started his career as an apprentice to his father, who was a perfumer, and then he got involved and started creating his own fragrances. Like I mentioned, he's created so many. He was, I think, the 2017 Perfumer of the Year, and as I was going through his full list of creations, I was really taken aback by, first of all, that I owned 10 just right off the bat, but secondly, by how many of his creations, the ones that I owned, are like some of my faves, my absolute favorites. So it just ended up working out. I'm really happy that I chose this perfumer to start this maybe series, if you guys are interested, because I'm gonna have really good reviews for the most part for, again, 9 out of 10 of these scents are fragrances I really like / love, adore. So we're going to start with the only fragrance I personally am not like over the moon about that he's created, and then we'll get to all the ones I love, because there's no point trying to put the rest in order. And even the one I don't love is a fragrance that a lot of you adore. So that one is Scandal by Jean-Paul Gaultier, the original Scandal. He did create some of the others, we'll get into it, but the original Scandal was a creation by him, and it's not that I hate it. It's by no means a fragrance I hate. So even the worst of his, in my opinion, is still nice. It's just got a slightly sour honey note, and sour honey notes don't do well with my skin chemistry. It's not as bad as it could be, I will say, definitely not as bad as it could be, but I can't wear this all the time. Like, it's definitely a fragrance that I can wear 1 or 2 days and then I have to take a break from it. It is very sweet as well. I think there are better ones from the line, but if you are interested in kind of a sour slash slightly sweet honeyed floral, this really is a game changer in that kind of designer world. Jean Paul Gaultier, I think it's a house that I adore. I've done a video of all my Jean Paul Gaultier fragrances, so you can check that out as well on my channel if you want a real overview of all of his fragrances from his house. But this is a scent, like I said, that even though I don't like, I would actually recommend to other people just based on their taste and what their opinion is about a honeyed floral, specifically a slightly sour honey floral, because I do like it otherwise. I think the composition is nice. I think the performance is actually pretty good and long lasting, which again plays into if when I'm not in the mood for the fragrance, it's not one that's just going to wear away. It lasts a very long time. You can definitely overspray this, especially if you have a slight aversion to the sour honey floral or the honey note. But anyways, that is where we'll start. Scandal, the original Scandal by Jean Paul Gaultier is the first one. Number 2, just so I can get it out of the way, is the only sample, and I'm going to talk about it because, like I mentioned, I actually, some point, I'm not sure when, but at some point, I'm going to be buying this online. I checked out, and they do have it on FragranceBuy. I checked for myself way before I even bought or filmed this video, and just in my next order or at some point, I definitely have to get this. And this is Terra de Gioia by Armani. You guys, I sprayed it on my hand. I'm nursing this sample like you would not believe. I talked about it ages ago when I got it, but I love this scent. I've got a couple of the de Gioias already in my collection, and it's funny because the one I have in a sample is the one I like the most. It's so, it's like beachy, floral, extraordinaire. I only ever like nurse it and spray one spray at a time, but what I really want is to douse myself in this. This is a very me fragrance. It's a floral, it's beachy, it's got a touch of like solar note powderiness to it, if you know what I mean. Sometimes solar notes can have they have like a warmth and a powderiness to them that is different than like a makeup-y powdery or floral powdery. It's a very particular thing to beachy fragrances or fragrances that have those, and this has that. I'm not even sure if solar notes are a note in this, but it does have that vibe of a solar note fragrance, and I love it. Definitely need in my collection if you are looking for a beachy fragrance to kind of get you ready and looking forward to spring, summer this year, then I really recommend Terra de Gioia, and I think it's a stunner. All right, now moving on to the third one, we're going to go back to Jean Paul Gaultier for just a moment because there's some more creations from Fabrice Pellegrin that I own and that I want to talk about. So obviously he created the original. I think he also created Scandal Gold, which I've never tried. I think it came out in 2021, so looking forward to that. But he did create my beloved, my absolute love, included in my top 20 for life, So Scandal by Jean Paul Gaultier. A grapey, I can't spray all of them on me, but I'm going to spray all of them in the air. Oh, a grapey fragrance dream. This is everything. Personally, I think the original Scandal should be, but it is very different to Scandal and even Scandal à Paris. I feel like this one just kind of goes in its own direction. It's not a honeyed floral. It's a very grapey floral. It's a lot more cool as well, whereas I feel like Scandal is more of a warm fragrance, obviously in part because of the honey. But as things go, I have this one in a smaller bottle and that one in the larger just because they're blind buys and you never know. This actually wasn't a blind buy. I don't know. Sometimes I decide to be good and get a smaller bottle and it really doesn't matter at the end of the day because it takes me ages to finish bottles anyways. But that's neither here nor there. In case you were wondering bottle-wise though, the smaller, I think these are the 30 ml or something. I have no idea. The smaller bottles, whatever mil they are, yeah, I can't read it because it's like etched. They don't have the legs, they just have like a little charm. Scent-wise, you guys know. I love it. I will say I wouldn't recommend it universally. I don't think it's absolutely like a safe, everyone and their mother will love it. You do have to like a grapey floral because there's a serious grapey vibe to it. I talked about it in my Jean Paul Gaultier video. I talked about it in my grapey or grape fragrance video as well, and it's definitely prominent. It's quite strong. Again, the lasting power on this is really good. I have to say, the Scandals, a lot of these fragrances that he's created have good lasting power. Not all of them, but for the most part, I think he creates a fairly strong fragrance that has good sillage. Really, really great sillage on this. I always get compliments when I'm wearing this. So that is so Scandal. And then the fourth one and the last Jean Paul Gaultier creation that I own, and I did want to talk about it even though it's not the exact one created. He created Classique Pin Up, which, if I'm correct, and if marked correctly on here, which I believe it is, the Airlines version, the Classique Jean Paul Gaultier, Gaultier Airlines, the one with the belt, is the juice of Classique Pin Up. So it's hard to know because there is a Classique Airlines that doesn't have a belt, and I think that one's Cabaret, or that one's like that one's another juice. But this one, from what I can tell, is Classique Pin Up, and that is what Fabrice Pellegrin created. He created the original Classique Pin Up. If any of you have both this and Pin Up, please let me know once and for all. I don't want to buy the Pin Up and then realize I've got the same juice twice, as good as this is. But I love this, let me tell you. I picked this up, I told you guys, on not my last trip, but the trip before that when I went to Portugal, in duty free, which is really, for the most part, where you can get it. However, I checked and it is on FragranceBuy. So without even taking a trip, you can get it on there. You can enjoy the beautiful, beautiful scent. Oh my God. It's like fresh. It's got like a creaminess, but also a zinginess to it that I adore. And it's a really good spin-off flanker of Classique because you can tell it's a Jean Paul Gaultier creation within that line, but it definitely smells different. I think it's a little brighter and a little more sharp, whereas the Classique Eau de Toilette, which is up there, is just like immediately more sweet and yeah, just more sweet and ultra feminine, whereas this is obviously feminine. But there's like a really delicious, like almost ginger flower top note that I love it. Also, the bottle does not hurt. I keep this on here just because if I ever decide to travel with it, it's helpful. But oh my God, I love her little outfit, like just old school Pan Am Airlines vibe. Love that. So moving on, the fifth one is, I'm just going to get this one out of the way because it's the only one you can't get on FragranceBuy. Everything else, like I said, is available and linked below. But you can't get this one because it's a Zara fragrance. So Zara Mochi Atelier in Tokyo. This one really had a lot of hype, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. But, and I will spray it. I haven't sprayed it in a while. I will say it is the least strong performing out of everything. Maybe because it's a Zara fragrance, maybe he just felt it didn't suit the scent. But everything else, and everything else that is obviously readily available now, or much more readily available for you guys to buy online, and for you guys to buy on FragranceBuy, is strong, I would say, like varying degrees of lasting power, but on the stronger spectrum. This, I've always had performance issues with, but I do like the scent. I like the Paris one more that came out in this collection at Zara. That one smells like Lucky Charms, and it's just, I don't know, it smells like a lemon tart meets Lucky Charms. This one, it's this kind of like fruity pear mochi type fragrance. I just find it's a little bit light and I end up overspraying it just to get to the level of a fragrance that I would enjoy. Anyways, I still think it's one of the best out of that collection. There were 4, and this one and the Paris one I like. The London and the Lisbon one were definitely 3 and 4 for me. So yeah, I mean, if you can find this being sold again, like resold by anyone, then definitely take a look. But if you missed out on it, not to worry. Fabrice Pellegrin has a multitude of other fragrances that you will enjoy, and you might even end up enjoying more. So definitely check those out instead. All right, so the next one we are going, well, which one should we do? I think I'm going to leave like the more expensive ones. I'm going to do the one more like affordable one, and then we've got some more expensive real gems, some of my favorites of all time. So the more affordable one, and the last affordable one I'm going to talk about, is Moschino Toy 2. This one, I really, every time I smell it, I think of one of you who commented and told me this. But when I first got this, I was like, oh wow, I like it. It's sort of plasticky, a little fruity. It's definitely interesting, real nice. And then I got Blanche by Byredo. And one of you told me that these smell almost identical. And it broke me because you were right. They do really smell very similar. And now I own both. And I ordered the more expensive one, the Byredo one, obviously after this. So I could have ordered, like I could have just ordered another Byredo fragrance in its place, because I was actually debating between Blanche and Mojave Ghost, and I ended up going with Blanche. So anyways, I remember that whole story and my mistake every time I spray this, which isn't the happiest thought. But if you do like, and you can learn from my mistake, if you do like the scent of Blanche by Byredo, definitely check out Toy 2. Great deals pretty much everywhere, but the best, and I think I got mine on FragranceBuy, has been on there. It's gone on like a sale relatively recently. I remember I checked it out, I think, but I already owned mine, so I definitely don't need a third. It's a really interesting scent, and I feel like out of all of them, this one is kind of different, the most different than his other creations, because it's got like a real, I don't know, it's got like a clean, definitely clean vibe to it, where it's musky, but it's fruity as well, and somehow the combination of those adds like a plasticky baby doll toy note in there. It's not super obvious to everyone, because I have had people try this one and feel like they don't get that vibe at all, and I've had other people like completely agree, and that's the only thing they can smell. So I do think because of that, you're probably better off starting either with a sample or the Moschino, and then working your way up towards Blanche by Byredo. But yeah, anyways, it's a cute bottle. You might as well check it out if you're interested in dabbling in the plasticky scent vibe. But as we get to the last 4, these are some of my favorites. So I'm going to start with the one I love the most. I literally could not believe this was the first one I noticed was created by Fabrice, and I was like, I got to do a video on him first as my first perfumer. Boucheron's Neroli d'Ispahan. This, I haven't talked about it in a while, but this is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Did I put it in my top 20? I really hope I did. If I didn't, it should be in there and I made a mistake. And if I did, well then great. One of you will let me know. But you guys, I had to spray this one. I love this scent. This was a fragrance I would put into my cart and take out maybe 50 times. On FragranceBuy, like ages ago when I first bought it, when I was starting my channel. I don't know when it was like a little bit into starting my channel. And I admit it was in great part because of the name, and rarely do I do this, but I was like, okay, I love Neroli. It's Neroli d'Ispahan. I need it. I want it. Please. What should I do? And the notes always scared me, and even the description. So I want to give a more fair description of what this smells like, because they really did sell this as being like, oh, it doesn't even smell like neroli, or if you don't like neroli, you'll like this. It was just throwing me off. I think the best description of this is your fall time, winter time. This is your cold weather neroli scent, because oftentimes, and not always, but more often than not, neroli's used in more spring, summer scents. Definitely spring vibes. It's usually with citruses, and it's opening. It's usually got like a lot of bergamot, maybe orange blossom, but it tends to be more of like a fresh scent. Sometimes it gets a little more beachy, sometimes it gets a little more citrusy and fresh, but it tends to kind of live in that area, and that makes sense. And all of my other neroli scents really live in that spectrum as well. This is my fall time neroli. This is a neroli that has, or my cold time, like my cool weather neroli, I should say. It's got spice to it. It's got warmth to it. It's got like a real, it's not spicy, but it's spiced. And I can still smell the neroli. I really disagree with people that feel like they can't smell it at all. Obviously, each person is different. Your skin chemistry, your nose, everything. But this, to me, is the only fall, winter time neroli that I have ever needed. If I own more, then I still favor this one, because I obviously can't remember it. And I think overall, this range by Boucheron, the more expensive range, is very underrated. There's a few of you, you know who you are. You just get me. You love this too, or you love this range too. I've tried a lot of them, in part, again, thanks to you guys, but this is the only one I have as a full bottle. It's also a beautiful bottle, and I'm not a person that needs a stunning bottle to like a fragrance, but it's very heavy. I feel like the cap also, while mostly plastic, because it's got that inner metal part and the top, has some weight to it. It clicks into place. You can pick it up from the cap, which is an added benefit. I don't care about like the cheapness of bottles in a lot of other senses, but because I have so many fragrances, and this is I'm going off on a tangent, but if you have larger collections and if you're running out of space constantly and adding fragrances, I have all my fragrances very close together. And so a lot of the times there's like tight corners, and being able to pick up a fragrance from its cap and not be worried is a added feature that I have begun to really, really appreciate. It's just so helpful, because there are some I literally can't trust, and this one, it never lets me down. So I know I went off on a tangent, but I love Neroli d'Espahan by Boucheron, and I recommend it 1,000 times over. All right, so the next one, I know which one I'm going to leave for last, because I don't think, unless you guys have looked into the perfumers of these fragrances, I don't think you'll know how big of a deal the last one is, because of how many people adore it. So I'm going to leave that one for last. The third last one I'm going to talk about is Safenade by Parfums de Marly. I picked up, how many Parfums de Marlys do I have? I have this, Athalia, and Delina. Yeah. And I got them all on FragranceBuy, but this was my most recent. I haven't gotten a Parfums de Marly fragrance in a while. I have sampled, because sometimes you get samples in your order. I have sampled some other fragrances from the house, but this is their orange blossom scent. It's definitely, I feel like he favors neroli and orange blossom in a lot of his fragrances. That may be why I love him, because I love those notes. But this one's really lovely. I'm gonna spray it on my hand here, because we only have 3 left. I can get away with dousing myself. This is one that's changed for me, because I remember when I first got it, and if you go back to whenever I first hauled it, I didn't love it from the get-go. I liked it, but I was really underwhelmed, and I was like, oh, does it I think I even said, does it smell like Classique but worse? Do I even need this? And this is one you need to kind of give some time to appreciate. At least that was the case for me. I don't think anymore that it reminds me of Classique. I think at the time I was trying so many fragrances, and that can happen in my first impressions because they are first impressions and I'm usually trying, I don't know, 5-6 fragrances very, very closely to one another. But this is a fragrance that I've started to appreciate more and more wearing at home, because I felt like I could kind of take the time to just not wear with anything else and devote time to just wearing this. There are some fragrances I can get away with, wearing like 1 or 2 on each arm and trying them out throughout the day. That's just the kind of person I am. But I'll usually be wearing more than one fragrance. This one, you kind of have to wear on its own. It's very simple, comparatively. And it's very feminine and kind of paying tribute, I think, mainly to Orange Blossom, at least on my skin. And so I feel like it kind of gets tainted and lost when it's mixed with other things. And for, it's a pretty penny to pick up, and it may be someone's signature scent. It's worth just taking the time. When I wear it by itself and not layered with anything else, on purpose or accidentally, like just this on its own, is when I love it the most. Then second last, but of course it's not order, is Dosson. I was really surprised by this. I did not think this was his. I don't know why, but this is also one that's very, very different than his other creations. He does a good job, obviously, he's a professional, of matching the fragrance to the house and the particular vibe of the house and the kind of fragrances that they already have existing in their line and in their range or in whatever collection it is. I do appreciate that, because there are some perfumers I've personally noticed kind of, if they like create something they like or a sort of fragrance composition that they like, they'll release that in similar forms for different houses at different price points, but pretty like very close versions. And you can tell like it's just their creation because it's being sprinkled around, or that they favor a particular note or an accord so much that you also can kind of guess who it is sometimes. I don't think Fabrice has done that, because I feel like they really suit the house. And while he likes Orange Blossom, or at least maybe I like Orange Blossom, and of his many creations, I'm just buying the Orange Blossom ones. You know what I mean? So this one is very different. It's a very Diptyque fragrance. It is my favorite Diptyque fragrance that I personally own. Where should I spray this one? I'm slightly choking myself out, you guys, but it's worth it. I just think this is really, really classy. Like, I always feel very put together and chic when I wear this. This is another fragrance I do not like wearing the way I just did when I'm trying out a lot of other fragrances, not because it's simple, I actually think it's quite complex, but because it just stands on its own. I don't want to layer this. I don't want to smell anything else when I'm wearing this. I just want to smell like Dosson. And again, for, it costs a pretty penny, you might as well just enjoy it to its full potential. I feel like it's also got a little bit of something in there for everyone. Like it's a little floral, a little green, a little fruity. I love it. I think it's really, really nice. A very quintessential chic Parisian woman is kind of what I feel like. And then last, but certainly not least, the one I was waiting for because of how much of hype it got throughout the years. Not so much anymore, but throughout the years on YouTube. And it's still, I think, beloved. Oud Bouquet by Maison Lancome is a Fabrice Pellegrin collection, or creation, I should say, from the Maison Lancome OG collection. This, the amount of times, I'm actually not going to spray this. I can smell it from the bottle. It's a lot. The amount of times I saw this video in fragrance videos before I started a YouTube channel, if I had $1 for every time, I'd be rich. This really had fragrance YouTubers at the time, especially, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, in a chokehold. Like, it was everywhere. Maybe 4 years ago. I'm not sure. My concept of time is shot, but I still really like it. I've tried dupes and In my opinion, nothing matches the OG. It is well worth the money to pick it up if you know you like the scent, obviously. It's a beautiful kind of like classic at this point to a certain degree, rosy oud. It's got a real, on some people, definitely on me, it's got a real like almost medicinal vibe to it, which I love, but I just think it's spectacular. I still think it's very much worth the hype. I don't think it gets enough love anymore. Maybe it was so hyped before, but now people don't really even talk about it. It might look like I don't wear this, but it's because even myself, overspraying queen, I don't spray more than 2 sprays of this when I'm wearing it. It is very strong. It is very long lasting. It is very overpowering, and it's got a heck of a good sillage on it, like some strong sillage. So you really do not need to overspray this. I think it's a beauty and definitely a gem of that entire Maison Lancome line. So definitely worth checking out. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and me kind of going through my top 10 and my 10 Fabrice Pellegrin creations in my collection. As always, I will link everything in the description box below, all the different fragrances and their availability and stuff on FragranceBuy for you, so it's easy to find. And I will also be checking out the comments, so definitely let me know which one of these fragrances you've tried or you'd like to try, or if you have other one of his creations that you've tried and you really love. I know he's created a bunch of Jo Malones that I just don't own, but I've tried. So love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to me here, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye!